Alright. And we talked about previously cleanliness, how and laws that were put in place, especially when doing the holy sacraments or the offerings for the Lord, how crucial it was to follow the Lord's instructions step by step, not to have any missteps, because in this case it did actually result in the death of Aaron's two sons who were carrying out part of these ritualistic sacraments. Which was unfortunate, but we're kind of leading. Why I had to mention that is because we skipped over it, and then we also kind of lead this part with the talk of Aaron's son's death. So again, very important to keep to the commandments and the laws of cleanliness. Whatever the Lord says during this time is very, very important. Why? Because this is the group of people that's being set apart. They are being set apart. They're supposed to have stark differences and stark differences in the way that they're living and the way that they present themselves in order for them to do what they need to do. Because essentially they are taking over a previously inhabited land, the land of the Canaanites. They will be taking it over completely. So what do they need? They need some kind of thing to set them apart, or set them, of course, above the people that they are going to dominate, essentially. And again, we're learning about God and his ways of the Old Testament, very different in comparison to how Jesus might have operated or how Jesus might have instructed people to be. This is very, like, I don't know how to explain it. Set in stone maybe is a good description. Like, this is very just strict, set in stone. This is, you have to be this way, you have to do what I say, because we're trying to make a great people, right? A great nation, which is our foundations, right? Our foundations have to be strong. They have to be meaningful. And let's go ahead and start out with a quote here. It says, "Dance is a measured pace, as a verse is a measured speech." This is from Francis Bacon, 1561 to 1626. Dance is a measured pace, as a verse is a measured speech. So the Israelites are carrying out these actions, these movements, these dances, right? All at a very specified pace. And I guess why it took us so long, even though Leviticus is notably shorter of a book, took us so long to get through it, because they are really spending a good amount of time here out by Mount Sinai, by the desert. They're moving around a little bit with the flocks and the herds, but they're really stationed near Mount Sinai in that area. Spent a good amount of years there. It's, we're going through these things like bing, boom, bam, but there's really a lot of time and a slow pace at which they are being prepped and prepared. And I think preparation is a really good term for these next two chapters. They're being prepared to make a giant move, right? So dance is a measured pace, as a verse is a measured speech. And what are we reading? We're reading verses. And these verses are speech from the Lord. This comes right from the Lord to Moses when they are in the tent, right? That with the tabernacle and everything, the tent of meeting, they called it. They're in the tent, and the Lord is actually speaking to Moses, which creates all of these verses. People are like, well, how did this happen, right? The Lord didn't write the Bible physically. No, but as we learned, he wrote the 10 Commandments physically. He wrote those out, etched them into the stone. But the verses that we see and are created here from the Bible are all measured speech. It's speech that is remembered and recorded very effectively due to Spirit and the power of the Spirit. How we're able to get these fine details is clearly work of the Spirit, right? Measured speech, though, it's of course something that is said previously. We wouldn't put anything in there that's not said, or that's not something that had taken place. Let me go ahead and put this into some 10 minutes of talk time here. Alrighty, so let's begin. The Lord spoke to Moses after the death of the two sons of Aaron who died when they approached the Lord. This is how Aaron is to enter the most holy place. He must first bring a young bull for a sin offering and a ram for a burnt offering. Then he is to take the 2 goats and present them before the Lord at the entrance to the tent of meeting. No one is to be in the tent of meeting from the time Aaron goes in to make atonement in the most holy place until he comes out, having made atonement for himself, his household, and the whole community of Israel. The bull and the goat for the sin offerings, whose blood was brought into the most holy place to make atonement, must be taken outside the camp. Their hides, flesh, and intestines are to be burnt up. So again, the Lord is giving them very specific instructions, and we're hearing a little bit of repetition just so everything is very clear. Before, it was more instruction, and then there were some examples, right? Some people were messing things up and not doing things exactly how the Lord had said to do them. So now it's being repeated, right? And being just really, really ensuring that they understand how this stuff works, because he's making atonement for the entire people of Israel. It's not just for him, it's not just for his family. Aaron, of course, is kind of the head priest, in the position of the head priest. He's making atonement, and he's doing these things to cleanse and sanctify the entire community, which we know almost is about 1 million people. So they're growing, right? They're spending some years in this town, or this little township, their tent city that they created near Mount Sinai, and they're growing, right? They're reproducing, and he's continuously making atonement for the people, because of course with that many people in such a small area, you're bound to have some conflicts and some issues. So cleansing of sin is very important. They must be near perfect, right? They are the chosen people. They have to present themselves as such. And we do certain things today to help us also reach this holy state, right? But this, of course, not to this degree. God says here, they must no longer offer any of their sacrifices to the goat idols, to whom they prostitute themselves. So this was interesting that this was mentioned, because it does make a point here that maybe some people were kind of going on their own offshoots, right? Sacrificing to certain idols. Here specifically it's quoted as the goat idol. So somebody was doing that. God made it clear, do not do that. And again, there's not really any talk of like God killing off people or punishing people in a matter of death, because they have this new method of atonement where that no longer needs to take place. They could, do their sacrifices in the right and holy way and cleanse themselves of any missteps or wrongdoings. But of course, there are certain things that they will be punished by death for, and we're going to go through some of them here. Again, he's also preparing them to move into the land of the Canaanites. And the land of the Canaanites, they did something a little bit differently. They had a lot of ancestral relationships. So I'm going to read a few things here. And it's not because the people of Israel or the Israelites in the community of Mount Sinai were doing these things. It was actually the Canaanites that were doing these things, and God is clarifying, you're going to witness some of this, you might see some of this, you are not to do as they do, right? Do not do this, it's not honorable. So he's making it very clear in this section, this is what they are doing, you are not to do this. It says, do not dishonor your father by having sexual relations with your mother. She is your mother. Do not have relations with her. Do not have relations with both a woman and her daughter. Do not have sexual relations with either her son's daughter or her daughter's daughter. They are her close relatives. That is wickedness. For all these things were done by the people who lived in the land before you. The land has become defiled. So again, he's just mentioning the Canaanites are doing this and the land is defiled. So why the Israelites need to be so clean and so pure and so differentiated from these people this is another reason, because they're supposed to come into the land and they are supposed to purify it and sanctify it and make it holy again. Because as of right now, it's not looking too good, right? It says, when you sacrifice a fellowship offering to the Lord, sacrifice it in such a way that it will be accepted on your behalf. It shall be eaten on the day you sacrifice it, or on the next day. Anything left over on the third day must be burnt up. If any of it is eaten on the third day, it is impure and will not be accepted. So it's comes down to waste and haste. Make sure everything is, going according to plan on a specific timeline. You don't want to have like rotten meat or anything like that. The refrigeration techniques were not very good then, not the best, not like today. All right, do not hate a fellow Israelite in your heart. Rebuke your neighbor frankly, so you will not share in their guilt. So again, don't just conceal dislike or discomfort. If you have something to say, just go out and say it to them. Get rid of it, get it out in the open. Don't hide any distrust or hate, right? Do not cut the hair. This is interesting. Do not cut the hair at the sides of your head or clip off the edges of your beard. So again, God is just commanding more things to differentiate the people, to make them even look different physically. So this is kind of an interesting thing. Do not cut the hair at the sides of your head or clip off the edges of your beard. So do not trim your beard. And we see this still today in the community of Hasidic Jews, right? They still have their long pieces in front. I guess the back is cut or trimmed, but this is still something that differentiates the people, and again, something that's stood the test of time. So we must respect that part of culture for really carrying that forward all the way through. Again, the reasoning behind it, I'm not too knowledgeable about. I know a lot of people do think they have wisdom, or I think it's a thing, right? You have like wisdom stored in your hair, or memories, things like that. And a lot of people do not cut their hair for that reason. So it could be something to do with that spiritually, but it does not outline it here in the Bible. Again, I think it's mostly like differentiation, making them appear different, right? Keep all my decrees and all my laws and follow them. I am the Lord. Consecrate yourselves and be holy, because I am the Lord your God. If a man marries his sister, the daughter of either of his father or mother, and they have sexual relations, it is a disgrace. They are to be publicly removed from their people. He has dishonored his sister and will be held responsible. A man or woman who is a medium or spiritist among you must be put to death. You are to stone them. Their blood will be on their own heads. And again, just some parts here about what maybe the Canaanites were doing. And again, if you're kind of going off, you're being an offshoot and kind of doing your own thing, right, spiritually, that's just not something that's recommended or commended at all during this time. Very important just to, rely on the Lord wholeheartedly for certain things. And yes, the punishment is death for being a medium or spiritist at this time, right? It's not so much something we practice anymore, but, to each his own. And it says here, these are some laws for the priests. So like Aaron and his consorts, right? They must not marry women defiled by prostitution or divorced from their husbands, because priests are holy to their God. Say to Aaron, for the generations to come, none of your descendants who has a defect may come near to offer the food of his God. When the sun goes down, he will be clean, and after that he may eat the sacred offerings, for they are his food. So again, just some laws here. Apparently, defects like birth defects and any kind of chromosome mishaps, they cannot be the ones to offer the food. They have to be just normal looking. I hate to say it like that, but it's said here. And then, of course, they cannot marry women that are prostitutes or have been previously divorced, but they can still marry as a priest. You can still have a wife. And then he says here, the Lord said to Moses, when a calf, a lamb, or a goat is born, it is to remain with his mother for 7 days. From the 8th day on, it will be acceptable as a food offering presented to the Lord. So we learn a little bit about how the first lamb or the firstborn animal and child, like that was from before, I think we talk about it, I'm not sure, but anyway, any firstborn is actually to be offered for the Lord or belongs to the Lord. But now they're instilling some humane natures, right? Some humane laws here, because I think they were maybe doing something a little too crazy. It needs to remain with its mother for 7 days. So that was just some humane thinking. It's still not very long, but that's just how it is, you guys. It needed to be said. That's pretty much it. It sounds archaic, I know, it sounds crazy and like, oh my goodness, what is all this madness? But this is the history, this is how the foundations were built and laid, and you have to kind of, revere this, right? And be like, wow, this is actually something very commendable and respectable, because it's so different and it's not something that we still do. And it took a lot of work and dedication and sacrifice, literally sacrifice. So for them to just really be obedient, it sets such a strong foundation of faith and understanding and commitment to the Lord. And that's really awesome, right? That took place. So sounds crazy, but it did work, and it did, serve a very good purpose. So that's what I have to say about that. We're going to get into the last part tomorrow. Have a good day, you guys. If you still are on your holiday break, keep enjoying yourselves, eat well, and goodbye.